This is how I'm making every effort to finish strong in life. Finding out that you're terminal is a huge inflection point in life, the proverbial fork in the road, if you will. Some people get to that point and they just give up. They say, well, it's too late anyway. I'm just going to do whatever bad habits I've been doing. And some even ramp it up more to speed the process along and spend the remaining time feeling like garbage. Others may get pushed into a corner where they're so afraid of dying, they end up afraid of living, and they just hide in a corner of their house doing everything that the doctor tells them per instruction and try to live as long as possible but take no risks. They just feel like they're so fragile now. The point is, everybody is going to react differently to hearing that news. I cannot change the fact that I'm terminal with congestive heart failure. However, I can and absolutely will do everything I can to make the most of what's left. The number one focus for me is my physical health, and my path is very clear to do everything 100% disciplined to not maximize the length of my life, but maximize the quality of my life, and there is a difference. I have zero interest in taking those heart failure meds that are going to slow everything down and suck the energy out of me so that I can lay in a bed going down on an oxygen tank as long as possible. Instead, I want to maximize my energy and my ability to do as much for as long as I can. With that being my primary focus, every day I wake up, I make the decision to be committed to what gets me to that goal. That means from an exercise standpoint, I'm getting up, I'm being active, I'm doing a balance of cardio and strength training and something that doesn't overdo it with the heart, but does keep it at least active and flowing. I'm doing strength, not so that it breaks my joints, but enough to keep my muscle mass. That also means following the diet that I've designed for myself that gets me all the healthy ingredients that I need to repair from the workouts, to regenerate the organs that are struggling, to stay lean, but also gives me enough energy, yet not too many calories to where I'm going to gain weight or eat too much where then I struggle to breathe. I turn the lights out at a reasonable time and the screens off to get a good night of rest. I wake up in the morning grateful that I woke up, first of all, and secondly, to get up and start the day active, either going to the pool or walking the dog, whatever I've got on the agenda for the day. If I find that I'm tired in the day, then sure, I'll take a nap. I don't set alarms unless I have to. I just let the body go to sleep when it needs, wake up when it needs, try to make sure that naps don't mess up my sleep schedule for the night, and just be smart about all these different ingredients to my health. Another aspect of all this for me is to be an observant, objective advocate for my own health. Doctors can't see what's happening with me every day, but I can. So I make sure to look at all the data from not only test reports that the doctors provide me, any research that I might do, the data that I track about my own health here, how my body responds to both routine and deviations or experiments that I might do, down to details of how I'm breathing, what my heart rate might be during a swim, even the color and amount of foam in my urine because of what the kidneys are going through. I researched foods that were good for my liver and added that to my diet. I realized when I experimented with skipping dinners and intermittent fasting that my system seemed to work better, breathing better, losing weight and stuff. So all of those things I found, I then include into my new healthy routine and follow it. And it seems to be working because in the last blood labs just this week, I saw that the numbers, not all the numbers are back in normal range. Some of them are, but everything was at least improving, so that's all a good sign. A close second priority is the health between your ears here. A lot of people can have a real emotional struggle from hearing news like this, especially if it's blindsiding news, like some new condition you didn't even realize you had and you suddenly find out about it. Fortunately for me, I had to start facing my mortality at 34 when I had that first open heart surgery. So none of this is a surprise. Everybody knew it was coming. It's not that big a deal. When I was actually told, hey, you're at terminal condition, you're at sudden death risk any day, yeah, I had my tantrum for a day, get the emotional event out of the way, and then you go back to objectively looking at how do I best handle this situation now that I understand what's going on. For me, I like to solve problems, manage projects, however you look at it, and without a doubt, this is the granddaddy of challenges for me to try to address. I learned a lot watching Sunshine go through cancer. She never whined, she never complained. She still stayed herself, still just trying to be happy and wanting those around her to be happy. And so I try to use that as an example. I find a good way for me to do that is to keep busy with monitoring my health and all those aspects, my hobbies, Barron, also these YouTubes, a way for me to share what I'm learning to help educate others, and it gives me purpose and function. I want to do the right thing for my family and not leave a mess for them, so I've spent the last 4 to 5 months cleaning out the house and getting it ready to just sweep and sell. I have a document on a shared drive, so when it happens, my sisters can look at that, and it has every detail. Here's who to call to help get rid of what's left in the house. Here's the realtor. She's already looked at the house. She's on standby. Here's the probate lawyer to take care of all the court stuff. I'm arranging for the stones to be taken care of, both at Sunshine's tree in Colorado and her stone in Iowa. And all of this will be in the document for the girls. The obituary is written, instructions on where to send it and where to post it. I want to spend what time I have left being as happy as I can. Some people will say that happiness is the absence of unhappiness. So I've tried to eliminate as much stress as I can from my life. Getting rid of the job stress was huge for me. The financials I have figured out. The health, I know as much as I can. I continue to chip away at it, learn what I can, but I also know there's going to be constraints there, so I don't stress about that. But the reality is that the health stuff can be all-consuming. Every decision I make in a day, to get out of bed, to exercise, to eat, what I do, when I rest, whatever it is, all goes back to, is this the right choice for my health? And if it's all you think about, as I learned, it can put you in a dark place, and I don't want that. So I'm trying to find the balance of, is this productive for me? And that's what led me to basically just setting up a policy that I don't really talk about my health to friends and family anymore. And this is where it gets pretty tricky, is managing others in your life. Sometimes we end up in this trap of feeling obligated to tell everybody every detail about our health, or we feel obligated to listen to every silly suggestion that isn't going to do anything, or some technical innovation that has nothing to do with our situation. You can get guilted into traveling or playing tour guide or going out to dinners and lunches every week with people that want to catch up with you. There is absolutely value in me paying attention, monitoring my health, being my own advocate. But there is zero value in me repeating all those facts to every well-intentioned person asking me how I'm doing, or worse yet, listening to their witchcraft idea that's going to magically cure me. I continue making these videos because, for one, it helps me get stuff straight up here in my head to understand what's going on. Secondly, it also helps educate other people and gives it purpose so that they can learn from what I'm going through. And thirdly, if somebody does text me, how you feeling, how you doing, I can ignore it, deflect it, change the topic, ask them how they're doing instead, or I can just point to the video and say, here's the details, because nothing's probably going to change in the big picture. Time spent with family and friends, or even talking to them on the phone, should be a positive distraction for me, just for sanity. But you also want it to be positive for the other people. You'd hate to think that your last conversation is going to be dark and gloomy. I've also found that no matter how much I try to do that, some conversations with people I know are just going to end up somewhere eventually touching on the health topic. And what I've actually noticed is sometimes I enjoy going out to restaurants, the gym, whatever, and talking to somebody that I don't know at all, because they have no idea what my health issue is. So there's no way the conversation can go to there as long as I keep out of it. And I found I'm much happier trying to keep health limited to where it's productive in my life and not in the other conversations. Because frankly, if I'm focused on dying, I'm not focusing on living like I should be. Another thing that I learned watching Sunshine go through cancer was a little double-edged sword called hope. With her, we kept getting hope from the doctors that she would get more time, that this treatment would work, she'd be better for a while, we could go enjoy life somewhat normally, but it was false hope. And by the time we actually learned that there was no more hope, that this was it was too late. We could no longer take her to Colorado and take a breath of fresh air in the mountains. We could no longer take her to the beach and let her dip her toes in the ocean once more. It was too late. Now, I know that doctors want to give you hope, and there is a benefit of feeling optimistic and positive and the link between your brain and your body and all that. I get it. But it can also be damaging in cases like that, because if you have this false hope, you might cheat yourself out of experiences to do one more time that you could have had if you'd known the truth. Now, I have friends that'll say things like, you probably be around for 20 years or so. That's just not realistic, and you have to be accepting of the facts. So I have to be very honest with both myself and with others so that we all truly understand what we're looking at here. The fact is that I had 2 major leaks in the scar tissue around the valve in the first 2 years after its installation. Logic would tell me that in the 3rd year coming up here, I am probably going to have another leak show up. Now, that next leak could be the catastrophic one that floats the valve, and that's it right there. Even if it doesn't cause catastrophic failure, I look at how rotten this procedure and recovery went this year. Is it likely that I would even survive another procedure like that? Don't know. So I'm not going to fall into that trap of false hope. My best guess is that I have between 1 and 365 days left to go. That means I need to be living every day like it's my last, because one of these days I'm going to be right and it will be my last. This is the time when a lot of people who aren't happy with the life they've led probably scramble. They feel like in these last moments they need to make efforts to be a better friend to some, be a better family member to others, be a better Christian, whatever it may be. But it's foolish to think that you're going to build relationships, legacies, reputations, a clean soul, whatever it is, in your last few months on the planet. That's why it's so important that you've lived the life you want, so that once you hit the exit ramp, you're coasting if you want. You're still packing in everything you get, but that's all just bonus at that point. And that's why I'm very grateful that now I can look back and I can be happy with the life I've lived, so that I'm not rushing to try to change history at this point. I can simply look at it and say, hey, I lived without limits, and that lets me die without regrets. We know when we do something for the first time, and we remember those experiences as having been that just riveting example of a perfect blend of fear and excitement that just gets our blood pumping. We don't always know when we're doing something for the last time, though. Fortunately for me, I'm having a little bit more insight to that than others. For example, I didn't necessarily know that when I was riding a motorcycle 2 Augusts ago in Colorado that it was going to be my last time. But I'm glad that I rode to the hilt, balls out, and really gave it my all, and I have a speeding ticket and court bill or lawyer bill to prove it. But I'm glad I did it, because that was my last time. In September, I did know that it was going to be my last track day out there at COTA on the BMW. So I made it count. I was pissing blood by lunch, struggling to breathe, throwing up an hour after I got home. But was it worth it? To drag a knee around Circuit of the Americas on the bike I've had for 14 years and been through so much and made the perfect track weapon the way I wanted it. one more time in my life and just leave it all out on the track, abso-fucking-lutely it was worth it. I'm going to be doing more lasts than firsts now. And I won't always know when it's my last, so I have to really appreciate every meal, walk with Baron, strum of the guitar, any activity, drive, whatever it is, like it could be my last. And that's not a bad or a sad thing. It just means that I'm going to be very conscious about cherishing every moment of every day and every experience within them. And I can still do firsts. Now, it may not be snowboarding in the oxygen-deficient Rocky Mountains, but I can still make new adventures for myself. I might be dying, but I'm not dead yet.
Ain't it fun when you know that you're gonna die young? It's such fun.
And so I'm gonna continue to live for today every fucking day.